I'm about to start recording a conversation with Kellyn Rose. She actually wrote a book called Accept Me that I really, really recommend you to read and soon to listen to it. So I hope that you enjoy this conversation. If you like the conversation, if you like the channel, please subscribe, add something on the comments. I want to hear your opinion about this conversation. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Book. I'm really, really happy to have Kaylin here. I'm so happy for your book launch. How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
I'm doing great. It's been a good month so far with my book coming out and then the um like the feedback I'm getting and the conversations that people are starting with me. So far 2026 has been off to such a great start.
Your book launched in January 2026, right?
Yes.
And you're a first-time author.
Yep, first time, first book.
How does it feel? Like I want everyone to know how do you feel about you launching your first book?
It's kind of crazy. I am someone who likes to say what they're gonna do and then do it. So I knew it would happen. I just didn't know it would happen this quick. And I didn't know I'd have all the support that I've had. So it kind of makes me feel invincible. I had a message and I wanted to write it and get it out there and I did it. So I feel proud of myself for doing it. And I'm just again overwhelmed with the support I received from people who I didn't know were watching. They were watching and they were cheering me on, so it makes me feel so good.
I think it makes you also feel so loved. I actually saw the launch party you had. It was in your city. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that party that you actually made or that gathering that you actually organized to launch your book?
Yeah, so, I keep in mind, I'm someone who doesn't really celebrate birthdays. I usually go out of town for my birthday, so it was really strange for me to invite people to, like, a non-birthday party. I kind of just made it clear, I was like, "No pressure," it's just gonna be a fun time with refreshments, you can check out my book, take some pictures. It ended up being like 40 people, which is like 4 times more than I expected. Everyone was happy and they were there for me. My friend owns a restaurant, so she let me throw it there. And then a few other friends, they're like vendors, so they let me use like their beautiful floral arrangements. So the scene was beautiful. The food was good. The company was even better. It was so overwhelming because I've never had so many conversations at once like that, but it was amazing. I was just so grateful for the support and love, and it was one of the best nights of my life. Like, it was just so fun.
Well, congratulations. Like really, I feel like going out of our comfort zones, it's one of the most difficult things to do, right? Like really going out of that comfort zone, and that's what you did. And for anyone who has been watching Beyond the Book or has been listening Beyond the Book, they know that this is a conversation between friends. So I want them also to feel like they're getting to know you a little bit, the author behind the book. Let's start talking about your why. Why is it that you actually wrote a book? What made you, what was the moment? What was the light bulb moment? What was happening in your day? Did it come from a dream? Was it a dream since you were little, like you were writing? What was it?
I feel like I'm kind of in this place where I have my group of friends, I have my group of people, and I'm not really an outgoing person. But just recently I've been making like friends here and there where they've been like connecting with me on a deeper level. I've always been so shy where I'm like, I don't know if you want to know the happy parts of my childhood or you want to hear the trauma. Like, which way do we want to go? And as I've connected deeper with people, I've kind of told them the story about how I grew up, like with alcoholic family members, being the non-alcoholic one, kind of gaslighted into thinking that addiction was just something we could overlook. And as I would tell this story or give examples, everyone would kind of look at me like, that's not normal. That's kind of intense. It's very traumatic. And I was like, oh, really? So then when I started to like think about it more and write it down, like journal it and see it, I was like, I feel good releasing this pent up energy that I've had. And then I've also when I've shared stories with, my new friends, some of them could relate. They could be like, "Oh, it's not that intense, but, I have a family member like that," or it's more intense. But I think the purpose of it is we were able to connect. Like, no trauma is worse than the other if it affected you in a certain way. So I kind of was just like, this is what I need to do. It just felt like a calling. Like I needed to share my story because just now all of a sudden, like, it just felt like the right thing to do. Like, I could help people more than I thought I could.
And you probably in the past, like you said, you probably didn't you never normalized it. Maybe there was a trauma, you were young, you were younger, but did you ever look or found a book like yours that you could actually be something that would open your eyes and say you're not alone? Or have you ever found, like, is there any other book that you got inspired by saying, "Look, I found this book that actually made a difference in my life," or but that talks about addictions and family and attachment and like all those different things, or you feel like that's why you actually wrote your book because you couldn't find something similar?
That's a great question. I read a lot of books. A lot of them are fiction, like, psychological thrillers, and I think there's a lot of trauma in its own way that comes with those books. There wasn't necessarily one that was, like, the child of an alcoholic or the child of an addict. So I think that was kind of something I needed to put to light. It's kind of something that's overlooked. Like, the focus is like the addict or the alcoholic. It's never like, where are the family members now? Like, how did they heal from this? So I think it was something I wanted to bring to light, that it is a sensitive subject, but we all need something.
And I've never shared this online or anywhere else, but I feel like with you, I have to open up because this is what your book does, right? Starts a conversation. And I was raised by my father was an alcoholic for a lot of years. And I remember opening the doors of our fridge, and half of it was food, and the other half was alcohol. It's sad that I have to say that he suffered his first heart attack and then he stopped drinking, right? So that happened. He went, like, obviously, I have a good story where he stopped, but definitely that affects. I would never write a book about him. That's so brave. I think that I wish I could share more of the story in a different way. But for you, is also giving voices to we can all relate. And I think other generations were very into those addictions and alcohol. Now we're living a very different 2026. We're living a very different age when it comes to other addictions like vaping or
Mhm.
even like other type of drugs, right? Other type of addictions, even social media addictions that didn't exist in the past. But back in the time, I would say, well, I'm a millennial, so I know that you actually writing a book that has to do with family, it wasn't something easy. So tell me your experience and how do you actually say this is something this is my story. This is not about others, this is about me, and this is how other people can actually relate to my story. Because definitely that's something that I really, really admire. That the fact that you can say, obviously, there was nothing outside of those alcohol moments that I told you. Thank God it was something light in the sense of how I was close to that type of like his alcoholism. Because but I got to see him sober and I see the good side of it, and if like through the years, and I grew up with a father that was an alcoholic. It's actually I grew up with a hero right in the house who actually move out and of addictions. And right now I can say, think maybe thanks to that I'm not one, right? Because I can see the struggle or the fact that you can get a heart attack or that it is a serious health issue. It's not
Absolutely.
fun. So tell me how was it for you to actually write a book that had to involve other people that that you were going to somehow tell their story. Like I'm sharing it right now, right? Not a lot of people would know, but I think it's important for me to share in this interview.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to say that I myself, I'm not looking for sympathy. I don't need someone to say, I'm sorry you went through that. That's not why I did it. It has nothing to do with apologies or me trying to victimize myself. It was really just a healing process and to help others, like you were saying, like it's not something that typically can come up in conversation. It's always something that you can leave out when you're telling your story. Like you don't have to mention your alcoholic family members. You can surpass that and keep the happy like moments alive. And I think that's kind of a trap we fall into where we look at it as I still have a house, I'm still fed, I still have nice clothes. The rest is not a big deal, but when it's every single night the same kind of trauma or you see the same actions over and over again where it's as simple as just repeating the conversation you had the next day. Um, I think it was hard for my family to understand my point of view because to them, I'm, the perfect one. I've never experienced hardship, everything like that. They don't really understand, the scars I have from, fights they don't remember, arguments we had that they can't recall, like apologies they gave me, but do you really remember why you're apologizing? Or are you just saying it because you know something's off? Um, and so when I decided to write the book, I let each of them read it. I got very different reactions from all of them. Um, it was kind of it was kind of a aha moment when, I let my dad read it, and I don't think he finished it. He's kind of upset about it, which oh, another thing I've been telling myself is they can feel however they wanna feel. Just how I can feel how I wanna feel, they can feel how they wanna feel. There's no, like, "I need you to understand my point of view," because I know by now begging someone to understand my point of view is not gonna happen. So it's just a lot of this, I've made peace with so many things, and I feel amazing with the fact that I don't have to carry it with me. I can just say, "That's how he feels. That's okay." Like, I'm at peace with how they feel. Um, but with that being said, when I sent him the book and he read it, or the parts that he read, he said, "I wish you would have sent me this, as kind of like more of a journal entry, less of a project, so we could have gotten you counseling," which at first was like, that's a sweet gesture. But then when I thought about it more, it's like, okay, so you guys are the ones who are addicted to your substances, but I'm the one who needs counseling. So, that was kind of a wake-up call, like, they really don't see my point of view, like, I didn't write this for them to feel sad or, to beg for them to understand where I'm coming from. I wrote it because there's so many more me's out there, and there's so many more people feeling this pain. So, if you just know somebody's out there and you can relate to them, you automatically are just like, "I'm not alone." Like, you know, you don't need someone to tell you it's okay to feel pain, like, you can just feel it, and however you wanna go forward with that is on you, but knowing you're not alone and someone else can relate to you just kinda takes a lot of weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, and for someone that, your book is just so new, it just launched a couple of weeks ago. So for anyone listening that haven't, would you want to tell us about the book? What's the name of the book? I know it's Accept Me, but I want you to tell me why and what is it about? I mean, probably with this beginning of our conversation, which we got so intense into the like at the beginning, because that's how we are. We're gonna go all in. I want people to probably they're guessing what this book is about, but I want to hear from you. What is this book about and who is this book for and why does this book exist?
Yeah, so, I decided to go with the title "Accept Me." I think it was appropriate because everyone in my family is an alcoholic except me, um, and it's on Amazon. It's been available for a couple weeks now. Um, I I decided to make it fictional. It's like a fictional memoir, if you will, just to kind of protect the privacy of my family. There are some things that I just, as it may seem, I do love them and I do care for them and I wanna protect them as well, but I do wanna share my story, so it was important for me to set a boundary in that sense where they, for some reason, they wanted to be located, it'd be hard to locate them because of the fictional parts of the book. So that's why I went with it, but a lot of the true events that I put in that book are what shaped me today, shaped me into who I am today, so basically, It's about, like, a young woman in her 20s who grew up with a family of alcoholics, and after, years of being in the same household with her family and seeing alcoholism as a common thing, something that's, you know, you you drink to celebrate, you drink when you're sad, you drink when you're happy, just alcohol is always there. Um, so when the main character moves out of that house and on her own, she starts to see how things are so different, how not involving alcohol in every single decision just changed her life for the best. How she realized that putting space between like her sister and her mom and her dad really brought her the peace that she never thought she would have. And a lot of the time, the family dynamic is we're a family, don't break up the family because you don't agree with how we live. And I think that's not okay. I think if something is not bringing you peace or happiness, you need to separate yourself from that. And kind of a lot of what I think about is if you are in an abusive relationship with a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they were abusing alcohol, your family would say, leave. That's not okay. You don't need that. But when it's your own family, you just have to suck it up because they're blood, they're family. You have to love them through everything. And I think that's where I want to step in and say it's not okay to make those sacrifices for your own family who's putting you in that position. I think you need to set boundaries, and setting boundaries, you love yourself, you learn resilience, you learn tough love. And so in a nutshell, that's pretty much what my book is about, kind of like the flow of it.
And you are talking about in the book, the story, it's about a family with addictions, but families most of the time, and I always felt like, except me, kind of, we always felt like there's obviously, hopefully everyone has a beautiful, integrated, amazing family, good life, but the reality is not every family is perfect, right? And sometimes in some way, shape, or form, they agree on something except me, right? Like, for
Mhm,
example, they probably like, we can talk about religion, we can talk about sexual preferences. Like like this is not just for someone that it's just we're talking about setting boundaries as well. We're talking about in the book. I mean, you are sharing with us a story that could also help other people that are trying to free from that guilt of, I don't think live exist in the same way that my family does, and that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. That means that I am someone that thinks and wants to live in a very different way, and that's valid. Right.
mhm,
So
exactly.
so for you, what is the message that you think it's the strongest part of what's the if someone is goes to Amazon right now and they just have it in their shelves and they haven't had the time to read it, because this is very common, but they want to. What is it, something that you say, this is why you have to read it. This is why I would love for you to take the time to read it and soon listen to it.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what I struggled with and suffered from was not loving myself. And I think one of the biggest things to take away from that book is that how self-love can get you through anything. If you don't love yourself, how are you going to love someone else? Or how are you going to, be there for yourself or show up for yourself when you're going through tough times, when the people who are supposed to love you the most turn their back against you or they make you choose you or them. I think it's always important to choose you. Um, Especially how that can correlate into new relationships. You don't want to bring your trauma to someone who wants to love you. I think you need to be open and happy and just maintain this love for yourself where nothing that anyone says can break you.
Mhm.
And I think that's the most important part is that you have to be secure with yourself. You have to, you know, respect yourself, respect your boundaries so that, when harsh phone calls or text messages or something comes your way, you can say that's not true. They don't know me. I know myself. I'm pure to myself. And I think that it took me so long to realize that as long as like I'm there, I show up for myself every day, nothing that no one says can bring me down. And that's, I think, one of the biggest messages in Accept Me.
And well, thanks for sharing that,
Mhm.
100%. I feel like the self-love journey, it's a tough one. I think it's, one of the most difficult ones. There's I don't remember what I read it or actually listened to it, that it says there's a very big difference between self-love and self-acceptance. Uh, I think everyone is talking about self-love and love yourself. I mean, I've always loved myself, but we grew up with so many things about us that they were, actually our parents. Now that I am a parent, I'm a mom myself and I have my kids, I try to be so careful. I mean, I work with a lot of teenagers. So right now, I think that's one of the biggest responsibilities I have, to actually keep those criticisms or judgment I have for my children, because as a mother, I it's my duty to actually share what I think it's right or wrong for their lives, right? It's my responsibility to tell them what's right or what's wrong. And what I can tell you is, in conversations I've had with, I had with parents when I had my schools, or even with my mother, because we didn't have like the best relationship for all my teenage years. That end up I end up with tattoos and a lot of piercings because of that, being that rebel, because I was a rebel. But now I just think parents actually don't know what they're doing either. And this is not only for those who actually feel like they accept me, but all those parents that actually, maybe they're smoking, maybe they are, um have another kind of addiction, and they don't realize how that addiction, that they don't go and actually find the root cause of that addiction, is affecting their children. And then like the people that supposedly we love the most, and I'm saying supposedly because I have to ask myself every day, if you're saying you love them, show them. Like, don't say it, prove it. And actually, I'm gonna be super transparent. Thank you so much, Kelly, for making this a little bit later. We were going to record in the morning, but I also stayed home to cook for them after school. And for me, that's a way of showing love. We can continue putting excuses to our behavior that doesn't show the love that we have for them. And yes, we always put things that are more important than our children, but they should be the number one priority. Because if another thing that happens with parents is, they always say, or we always say, oh, I didn't do this because of I did it for you. I'm going to share with you one time, we were in the car, and my son says, Mom, you're doing all of this for us, and you're traveling, you're working so hard. And I said, I'm going to stop you right there. So I'm going to stop you right there. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. I love my life. I love my work. I want you to have a good life. Yes, but I'm doing it for me. You have no reason to feel like guilty about it. Feel proud about it. Feel excited about it. But my responsibility of being a human on this earth, that I'm lucky that I can call myself your mother, right? I don't have all the answers. And I don't want you to feel that it's because of you, or you don't, like I have to do it. And I don't know if this is also something that a lot of times, and you, since you lived it in a way, is that you feel like you're guilty. It's your fault. Things that are happening as a child, as a teenager, it's your fault. You're doing something wrong. You have flaws. But the reality is, there's nothing you can do to change someone's addiction. So
Mhm.
I don't know if you want to add something on what I just share about parents.
Absolutely, and thank you for sharing, because it does make a lot of sense. As someone, I don't have kids, I don't have a family, I really am just on this earth for me and my golden retriever at the moment, um,
Yeah.
which is beautiful. I think it's something I'm happy with my decision, because I'm not where I wanna be yet, to move on and have kids and all that. But with that being said, I one of these quotes I've seen online is like, parents say they'll do anything for their children except get healthy. And I think growing up, I just wanted to, like, I wanted a conversation. I wanted honesty. I wanted communication. I just think I was always told, "This is how it is. This is what we're doing. I'm gonna drink if I want." You know, not in so many words, but in a way, it would just be like, why do you have to have alcohol tonight?" And it'd be like, "Because I can." You know, there was no, like, it was trying to be hidden. But, you know, at a young age, I picked up right away that, like, this is not something, like, I'm confused. Like, what is this going on here? Like, why is that in a cabinet? Why can't I touch it? You know, I was just told not to. Like, don't touch it. Don't worry about it. It's not your business. I think all I wanted or craved was just communication. Someone to tell me, I mean, yes, this is a problem we have. I'm not gonna do anything to fix it, but we know that you know it's there. You know, that's kind of all I could have asked for, but I didn't even get that. It was just ignored. Or it was like I did something wrong asking about it, and, like, it wasn't okay thinking back on it. Like, I was just begging for a conversation, and they couldn't give that to me. So I think a lot of my healing is just, like, communicating. I think I'm a very big communicator because I was never spoken to. I was always a kid. I was always, you know, spoiled or um ungrateful, you know, all these things came back at me when I asked questions. So I was taught to speak when spoken to, and I think that did a lot for my in a negative way, it did a lot for me growing up. Like, I don't think if something didn't snap in me, if I didn't decide, like, "No, I'm gonna speak when I wanna speak," you know, like, respectfully, of course, but especially being a woman in business, you have to speak up, you have to say what's on your mind. So I'm just so grateful, you know, I spoke up when I did to get where I am today. And I think that's a huge message for a lot of people is, you know, you're not gonna get reprimanded for speaking up, for speaking your mind. And I think that's something that took me a while to learn, but I'm so happy I learned it.
And there are two things that you just mentioned that for me, we all have a voice. And the moment that you actually embrace the fact that you have a voice, but we also understand our children, they do have a voice as well. They have their stories. My son has a mom and my daughter has a mom. I mean, I'm a very different mom with both of them. They both don't get the iPad after 5 p.m., before 5 p.m. But, they have a similar mom, but no, they don't. Um, and another, like, but I do want them to have their voice, and that's something I always say. And actually, now I think, oh my God, they have too many. Like, they're very opinionated.
Which is wonderful.
Which I don't know if it's wonderful, but I know that if I think the biggest problem we're facing nowadays is not allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. Um, that mask, because that's what it is, right? I don't have this addiction. I'm not struggling with this. I'm not getting divorced. My relationship, it's okay. My life is okay. My finances are okay. That mask is going to disappear sooner or later. You can't hold the mask for a long time. So the sooner you get vulnerable and you actually allow yourself to remember you're human and you feel and you're going through things. And this is at the end of the day your path in this life. I was talking with one of my friends in one of the trips that we did in Las Vegas, and I was telling her I actually just realized after listening to a podcast that there's only 3 generations that are going to remember me, and 3 generations no one's going to remember me. So when you think about that, think about you and if probably your parents and your family and your friends who actually knew, and when there's only 3 generations, that's it. We're that little on this earth. So if in this generation, in the next one, people can remember your book, there's one person that you can influence. For me, that's what a real influencer is. It's not talking to millions and millions, but changing one person's trajectory and reminding them that they can go out of that reality they're living today. You can give them hope. Yes, your family can look like this, your surroundings can look like this, your country can look like this, but your life can be different if you just change your mindset, if you love yourself a little bit more, if you accept your flaws and you try to improve them. You can be better. It's your life. And I think what you did with this book, it's brilliant. And the fact that for you first, right? Writing a book, it's something that not everyone has the gut, right? Or the did you say that way? The I didn't want to say the bad word. You had the how do you say it? You had the no, it's not a nerve. It's like you had the courage. I'm gonna call it courage.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm gonna cut this part. uh Writing this book, you actually had the courage to actually say this is my story, and by doing that you also embrace it and said whether if you like it or not, this is my story, right? I
Mhm.
want to share it, and I have all the rights to actually share what happened to me, the way I was feeling. And I well, you saw it on your launch, you saw it now. Your book became number one bestseller in the category of addictions, which addictions in family. So, so I was really happy to see it. I was really happy to see people need more of these books. It's only been like 2 weeks since it's out.
Mhm.
I can't wait for more people to actually recommend this. This is something you can give to a friend. Sometimes we don't know how to help our friends that are living, they just complain, we just listen to them. But gifting this book to someone who's going through something like this could be this intimacy that can be built with you as an author, but mainly the story, so they can see themselves and they can see that they're not the only one. They're not the only one going through something like this. And then obviously your story is very inspirational, and the things that you've done and the things that you just started accomplishing, because this is just you're very young, you still have a lot to go. And why not in the future you'll write a second one and a third one and a fourth one, and they're going to be very different stories. But to me, the fact that you put a book out there as a memoir fiction book, and then you still you're it's also inspirational for anyone who's listening. If you have a story, maybe you're not going to publish something tomorrow, but it could be also part of therapy to actually journal. And actually, if you don't have someone to talk to, or if you go to a therapist but you don't feel like you're healing, that could be another way of healing. And if that works, well, go for it.
Absolutely, and to kinda just piggyback on that, I think it's kind of like a self-help meets fictional, because I'm not telling you step 1, 2, 3, which I do love a self-help book. Like, I've read plenty of those, I've learned so much, but I think for, people, especially, like, younger people who aren't ready to dive in completely to, like, a full-on mindset shift, I think it's almost good just to read, like, because there is something that you can relate to, and I think just knowing that you can relate to it, it's its own form of self-help. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm kind of telling you, like, we can relate. How do you want to move forward? Like, you can either fall back or you can better yourself. And I think that's kind of the path I wanted to take with this. Is I'm not telling you step 1, 2, 3. It's just kind of like, here it is, like, you can this should help you, but not in a, like, such a, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you have to do this way type of thing, and I think that's kind of what I wanted to do with it, is to go that path.
Well, I'm so happy we're having this conversation so more people can actually go and get Accept Me on Amazon right now. Soon you're gonna have the audiobook, which I'm really excited so I can get to listen to it and listening in my car, listening it again. Um, but the book, I mean, I actually yesterday, I was looking at your pictures on the cover, and then I love what you did with your hair. I just
Yeah.
realized, there's the book, and that this little girl and everything that it actually means is it's like the sun is gonna come out, like everything is gonna get better. I'm happy that you're sharing your story, and then hopefully like a lot of people will read your book and they will feel like they found hope. I think that's the number one thing that we should bring to this earth and this people and our surroundings. And even if you don't know anyone like that is going through the same, like books can also, go beyond borders, beyond, you know languages. And I'm so happy this is now out and available. So please everyone go and get the book. And how can people actually get a hold of you if they want to share something with you, want to say something about the book? How can they get to you?
I'm pretty active on all my social media. If I would love to hear your thoughts, so you can direct message me on Instagram would probably be the best way to get a hold of me. It's Kellyn Rose, but it's Kellyn KELLYNN ROSEE. That's the same for my TikTok. And I just created a YouTube channel, so you can find me on YouTube. That's my handle for all three of those.
What's next for you? I want to hear what's next for you now that you checked I'm an author. What's next for
Mm.
you? What is this 2026 in the next couple of years? Now, I'm sure that this unlocked so many dreams and new things that you want to do.
It's been amazing. I've been really fulfilled just with from start to finish. I've learned a lot about myself, so I want to keep this party going. I would like to start being on more podcasts. Whether it's like a book podcast or self-help or recovery, something along those lines where my story would resonate with a lot of people. I wanna start a speaking career as well where I can go to, like, high schools, recovery centers, rehabs, and then eventually my goal is to do, like, some type of corporate thing where I can share my story, but also how it's taught me, boundaries, resilience, self-love, and how that put me in the position I'm in today. Um, so that's the goal. So if you know anyone who wants me on their podcast or speaking event, like I said, direct message me because I'm here for it. I'm so happy to start this journey.
And you know what? You were speaking, and I'm just gonna keep this moment. So Kelly, in 1 year, it's gonna look back at this video, and I'm sure it's gonna be surprised by the things that happen because when you have a good intention and you are working hard for what you want, you'll be surprised. So I'm so happy I got this moment in video. So
I love it.
a few years, you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, "Look what I was like manifesting."
I
But
know, I
thank
know.
you
I'm
so much.
excited.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time to have this conversation. For me, it's been a great experience to actually get to know you through like writing. You wrote the book. I want to mention that. That's really important. It's not from Chat GPT. It was
Yeah.
um and I'm so proud of you. I want more women to speak and to tell stories, and we'll see what happens in the future, but I know the future looks very bright. And again, thanks for being on Beyond the Book. And I appreciate the trust. I love the conversation. Uh, yeah, what your book does is actually starts, it's a little bit therapeutical now that I'm thinking about it. I wanted to share more. I wanted to share. I was like, no, this is being recorded. But I'll share with you off camera. But thanks everyone for watching. Anything else that you want to share before we go?
Nope, just happy to be here. Like I said, please message me if you want to learn more, you want to chat with me. I'd be so happy to speak with you.
Amazing. Well, thanks everyone for watching, for listening. See you next time. Goodbye.